Hi everybody, the Talisman Wizard here, doing a live stream for the first time on the channel. Kind of just chilling out after work today. Long day, so don't mind me if I'm not too exuberant, but I will do my best to keep a cheerful atmosphere here. Anyway, I got my setup here with the website down over there, Talisman Island, awesome website. Been around since February 24th, 1999. Pretty darn awesome. Got tons of information and fun facts and interesting things about Talisman and all its editions. Lots of information, a wealth of information there. So I figured we could start off. I could browse through it. We can browse through it together. I'll kind of give some reactions, maybe do a little reading for you. And we'll just check it out. And then maybe in a little bit, during this chill live session where we're just all hanging out, if anyone sends a comment or anything, I can answer some questions. Or anyway, I was planning to also watch some videos and kind of react to some YouTube videos about Talisman. Some that may be the more popular ones, some that are more obscure. But I figured that might be fun to do. So maybe I'll stay on here for maybe an hour, maybe less, maybe more. This is kind of just my freeform first episode of the Talisman Wizard Live. So bear with me as I search my feelings, and to put it in Star Wars terms, I guess, to see how I want this to go. And hopefully you guys can help me, guys and gals, can help me kind of formulate how to go about making more awesome Talisman content for y'all. Alright. But I was going to see if I could do one thing where I can see your comments. I'm using OBS Studio to do this live stream. I can't remember how I see your comments. Where do I do it? Enable preview, scene collection, tools, view, stats? No. Settings? No. Let's see, scene collection, window. Where is that thing? Put that thing back where it came from, so help me, or however it goes. Add. I don't know. That's alright. Maybe I can just, and I'll get that figured out sometime. But for now, let's get into taking a look at Talisman Island. Alright. Well, why don't we check out the latest post, July 21st. Tinfoil hats now available from the armory in the city. Well, there's been a grand total of nothing going on in the Talisman world of late, apart from the various fan creations that have been. Let's read more. Alright. That's pretty funny. Okay. Well, there's been a grand total of nothing going on in the Talisman world of late, apart from the various fan creations that have been making their way out, finally, into the sunshine. I've been finishing up various expansions and cards released for the licensed versions of Talisman from the OP, with new characters for Talisman Star Wars, Talisman Harry Potter, and Talisman Batman supervillains that are now available in the resources section of the site. Our Polish friends over on the, I don't know how to pronounce that, forums and website are celebrating their 20th anniversary at their regular meetup next week, so if you happen to be holidaying near Warsaw, maybe you should take a look. I was actually hoping to go this year, but sadly things have conspired against me. Mostly the fact that I haven't sorted out a new passport as yet. Maybe one day. Just to finish, I thought I'd don my tinfoil hat for purely comedic reasons. I was doing my normal trawl of the internet for any Talisman news or fan creations and clicked on the old Games Workshop page, which used to show the revised 4th edition and select expansions from the 2017 reprint, and it's gone. I imagine that they've just done a bit of housekeeping, as the page has been there for the past 6 years, but my roll of tinfoil is always on standby. There's not much point linking to the GW page as it's not there. Okay. Alright, written by the Talisman Island creator, John at talismanisland.com. Alright. See what else we got on this site. Interessante. Alright. Let me switch back, check the status of my stream here. I really want to figure out how I can show if anyone's commenting. Oh, chat. There it is. Okay, there's top chat. Let's see. Live chat. Okay. Participants. Yeah. Live chat. And we'll try our little reaction here. Continue to YouTube. Sign in. Okay. One sec here. Whoa. What have I done? Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. What happened? I know I had that open before. I'll say hello there. All right. So there's the live chat. I suppose. Let me check on my phone and see how that's working. Chat, I suppose. Let me check on my phone and see how that's working. All right. Cool. Well, let's see what else we got. Have a little sip here. One thing I've seen before on here is this Great Adventures in Wonderland is pretty interesting to me. This song by a band called The Tables from Shady Whims and Obstacles, their album Perfect Pop Records 1992 and 1999, Great Adventures in Wonderland. Interesting song. It's pretty zany and I really like it. But I'll read the story here as it is on Talisman Island. I once did a web search for Talisman and came across a curious link. It was a mention of a record that had used Talisman for its inspiration. I couldn't find any more on the subject and gave up. A while longer I did another search and found a whole page dedicated to the tables at mp3.com. But this page has since disappeared. It was a nice find though, as not only was there a downloadable version of the track, but the words to it were there too. I figured it would be nice to offer the visitors to Talisman Island the chance to listen to the track themselves. So I wrote to Perfect Pop Records and asked if I could put the track on the site. A very nice chap called Tom Stian Korsmo, the manager of the tables, mailed back and said that it was fine. He even sent me a copy of the Shady Whims and Obstacles CD. Thanks, Tom. Perfect Pop Records is the home of the tables and many other bands. Check them out at blah blah blah. Shady Whims and Obstacles is a huge 24-track CD filled to the brim with foot-tapping music which you'll find yourself humming along to in no time. None more so than track 4. Great Adventures in Wonderland is a tale of playing Talisman with someone who can't just play for the fun of it, and I think we've all been there. Bartleby of the Tables recounts, I used to play a board game called Talisman with Sandy and her brother. It was a very simple game, just the way I like it, nothing like chess where you actually have to use your brains. You rolled a dice, moved your person, drew some cards. There were cards with shields and lances, which made you stronger, and cursed by the hag, ghoul, etc., which were setbacks. There were places on the board called the Valley of Fire and the Portal of Power, and the whole point was to get to the center of the board with a talisman card. If you didn't have a talisman card when you got there, you had to start all over again. Sandy's brother was what I call a bad player. Bad because he didn't seem to enjoy the game for its own sake. He only thought about winning. I never took it that seriously, so when I got to the center of the board, it happened that I had forgotten to secure a talisman card. Then Sandy's brother smiled triumphantly and gleefully and said in a low voice, I think you need a talisman. Arg! So what? I had had a good time imagining myself living in this fantasy world of dwarves, giants, and wizards, and I didn't care much if I lost or won the game. But Sandy's brother cared. He wasn't only a bad player, he was a bad loser. When he lost, it was always, just one more game, just one more game. He was unable to leave the table without feeling like a champion. So this song is about two things. The irritating experience of playing board games with bad losers, and a tribute to this game called Talisman and to Baard and Noxon. Sorry if I butchered that. The guy who first got me hooked on role-playing games and all the new board games. Of course, I'm one of those guys who'd rather live in a fantasy world than in the real world. I'm a romantic dreamer. An additional secret, I crammed in a couple of veiled allusions to 60s pop psych in the song. The Jolly Little Dwarves is an allusion to 3 Jolly Little Dwarves by Tomorrow. Biff Bang Pow is of course from the Creation song by the same name. Click to play and sing along. Alright, I figure since I'm reacting to this, hopefully it's not a YouTube violation of any sort, but I guess we'll find out. And we'll play the song.
You're deep in the forest and you don't know how to get out. You're cursed by the hag and it doesn't have to scream and shout. And you lost your lives in a fight with a horrible ghoul. The fact that you forgot you got the shield made you look a fool. And the princess is far away. You're in a nasty predicament. Great adventures in Wonderland. Great adventures in Wonderland. Great adventures in Wonderland. In Wonderland. Jolly little dwarf runs away as the giant appears. He's back at the show and the knight on your right is collecting beers. With a biff and pow and a spell and a unicorn. The portal of power breaks down, you're in the danger zone. And now you're in the valley of fire. I think you need a talisman. Great adventures in Wonderland.
Anyway, I think that it's such a wacky song, and it's all about Talisman, and I love it. Pretty fun. So anyway, you can look through here and see all these different adventure cards from the original edition or first or second edition, and all the little references in the song that you heard. The jolly little dwarf runs away as the giant appears. He's back after so many years. Oh man, I love that song. So that's pretty fun. But anyway, good stuff. Let's see. I'm gonna do a little status check here, how things are going. Looks like we're still rolling along. And let's see. All right. Yeah, I'll take another look on my phone, see how the stream's doing on there. Oh, well, thanks, AZ. Just shared this to the Talisman first and second edition group. Cool. Well, I appreciate that. Hopefully I can live up to the hype. It's my first ever live stream on here, and I love doing Talisman related content, which I'm pretty much just getting started on. I have a couple other channels that I've done some videos on with Talisman, but kind of doing a fresh start, all about Talisman channel. The other ones I did, other channels were kind of about other random things too. But yeah, AZ, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. But let's see what else we can find on Talisman Island. What if we go to, I don't know, take a look at revised 4th edition. Let's just look at some cool artwork and react to it. How about the Reaper? We're just kind of being random here, but a gallery of art previously featured on Talisman Island during September and October 2008. Talisman the Reaper box front by Ralph Horsley. Ralph, you done good. That is some awesome artwork there. Love the way the Reaper looks. He's all intimidating and looking down upon the characters who are all in fear. And it looks like we've got the merchant over here, if I'm correct. Isn't that his name? And then we've got the dark cultist, and who's this? The knight, I think? Yeah. All good characters. I mean, skilled characters. They all have different alignments, but oh, and that's cool. Yeah, the Elixir of Wisdom, Ryan Barger. And then we got Summoned Bear by Ryan Barger. Man, they went all out on this stuff. This is incredible. Summoned Serpent, Barger once again. And Felsia Cano. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but Black Unicorn. Love that card. I remember that one. I do have all the expansions for 4th edition revised, and I left them back in the state that I previously lived in here in America. Basically, I'm having them sent over to where I moved to, and they should be here pretty soon, probably within the next couple days at the latest. Hopefully, anyway. It's supposed to be, but I guess you never know. They'll be here soon, is all I can really say. And at that point, I'll definitely start doing some playthroughs with more expansions. I mean, you can check out on my channel the solo playthrough I did yesterday, and then the day before I did a Talisman digital playthrough. I'm basically kind of trying to put out a video, at least one video per day, and mix in some live streams. we'll see how the live stream thing goes. I think it's pretty cool. Maybe I can get more creative with certain things. Anyway, the sky's the limit, really. But I do love Talisman, want to make a lot of cool content to encourage both new players and longtime fans to keep the fire burning for loving Talisman and all the joy it brings and the community that it forms. So, yeah, loving this artwork. I do love the Reaper expansion. That was one of the first few expansions I bought a couple years ago, and then eventually I bought all of them. I just swooped in and on Amazon and bought them all. And anyway, Skull Wand, yeah, cool. All right, very nice. Well, let me take a look here at the chat once again. Oh yeah, thanks AZ. I appreciate the compliment there about the solo game. I definitely plan to do more of that in the future. Oh, and you have complete sets of both 2nd edition and 4th edition revised sets. And I just got the Trailer Park Boys game based on Talisman last month. Really? Trailer Park Boys game? Okay. That sounds like a hoot. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, that's awesome. All right. Maybe I should, because I'm only using one monitor here, I should definitely get my second monitor up and running so I can monitor the chat better, but I think I'll just kind of use my phone right here so I can look at the chat and the window that I need to be looking at. Alright, so we'll go at a full screen a sec. Alright, so here on YouTube, I have done a search for Talisman board game. I just typed it in. And I'm sure a lot of you have probably already seen some of these videos. If you're a big fan like me, you like to go on YouTube. Oh, there's me right there. Talisman board game solo playthrough. Did that a year ago. It's got over 1,000 views. Not too bad. And then here's the one I just did yesterday. But let's see what we got here. I don't know. Let's check out the Woodland expansion review by Kevin Boyder on the Bottled Imp. The Woodland expansion, I have to say, for 4th edition is the one that, I mean, I like it in a lot of ways, and then in a lot of ways I'm really intimidated by it. I think you forgot to have the dwarf miss a turn from the storm early in the game. Yeah, you're probably right, AZ. I kind of watched over my video and I was like, oh yeah, there's a couple times where I think maybe most definitely messed up a little bit, but in the end it was still entertaining. But yeah, I'll, in the future try not to forget little things like that. But yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, let's check out what is his name? Ken or Kevin? I forget, but anyway. 7 years ago, 28,000 views. Woodland expansion for Talisman Revised 4th Edition. Fantasy board game review. Let us see.
So I hear you say, what is in the box, Ken? Well, I'm going to tell you. It's quite a lot of stuff, actually, so I'm going to have the rules here just to go through exactly what's in the box. Now, as you can see, there are some lovely, beautifully illustrated rules, which are very good. They are very precise in how they actually explain this expansion. So you have one Woodland corner board, and as you can see, this is where it fits into it. This is the base game board, so you will need the base game, as I mentioned before, and this actually fits in where it's parallel or lined up with the forest, so you obviously enter the woodland via the forest. That kind of makes sense. You also get 103 woodland cards. Now these are the equivalent of the adventure cards. So on the base game there's the adventure card, so if you're in any of the regions in the base game board, and if you've seen my review or you know how to play the game, you'll know exactly what I mean. These are the equivalent. And you also get 10 adventure cards, so that's what I'm saying.
One
these
thing
cards
that's
here, the adventure
good
cards,
and bad about the
these
Woodlands, I
ones
think,
are the ones that you actually pick up.
Is the
when
characters
you
are
land on
kind of
stakes.
complicated
Now,
with
the
their, well,
actual
to me,
Woodland
sort of
cards are
complicated with
exactly
all
the
their
same.
little
We'll go into detail
token
in a bit
actions
more.
they can do.
Okay,
It's definitely
5
cool
spell
complication.
cards as well. You've got the spell cards,
And
those get shuffled
takes a
into
kind of
your
specialized
base
strategy,
spell
but
cards, just like the adventure cards.
slightly
You
intimidating
also
to
get
me, for
20
sure.
path
So I've
cards,
tended to, when I
and you
played with
get
that expansion
14
a
destiny
handful of
cards.
times in the
You
real
also
life
get
game,
the characters. You get 5 new characters.
I tend to
for
kind of
each
shy away
these
from those
cards.
characters, but
Lovely.
perhaps when I get all my expansions, I'll try and
Figures
focus
here.
on them
Now, they're
more.
plastic and they're good quality.
Oh yeah,
I
it's cool
actually
how
painted
he
myself,
painted
so
those. I've seen a lot
I'll
of
let you
those
decide
that
whether I think I've done a good
a lot of people
job.
painting
I'm okay
those on
painting them. You also get tokens
uh,
for each of the characters.
the
Now, those are
Talisman
new. In
Facebook
other
group,
expansions,
Talisman board game
the
discussion
characters
group.
don't actually come with tokens, and these
Love
are
that
special
group, by the way.
abilities. I'm not going to go
And the
into
first and
great
second
detail
editions.
about those because some of the special
What's
abilities are
that?
actually quite in
I
depth.
never ever used
and
Dark Fate to
powerful.
reroll opponents'
And,
dice. I
you
use the
also
latest
get
dark setting from
3
Digital Edition. 100% of the time in
ending
physical
cards,
games,
which
you
are
can
these
only use
here.
Dark Fate to reroll your
And
own
these,
rolls.
as they sound,
Yeah, that makes sense.
change the,
It's a little less
outcome of the
PvP oriented, a little
how
less
you
of
actually win the game. And again, I'm
you
not
know,
really going to go into too much detail about
beat each
those.
other up
What I will say though,
kind of
is
vibe
if
that
they
might
have
make
certain
bad
icons
taste in
the
someone's
corners,
mouth.
so as you can probably see here, this one's got a moon and this one's got
Yeah,
a star.
true that.
This one hasn't got anything.
True
These
that.
ones
Dark Fate
mean
can be a
that
little
if you want to play
evil.
a hidden ending, i.e. you don't know what ending it's going to be, you then choose all the ones from the other expansions and you shuffle them and only them at random. You pick one and you have it face down, and then that when somebody gets to the crown command, you then flip that over and that is the end conditions to winning the game. Likewise, if you want to know the end card, you take all the star ones and you actually then shuffle those and you take one at random, but then you place that face up so that all players know the actual end
I do love
conditions of the game.
the
Now, these
variety
ones,
of
I'm never
endings that
100% sure
all the
why some
expansions
don't
bring
have
in.
them. I think they can be in either shuffling deck, so you can.
And that's
either
one area
hit
that I
them
haven't
or
really
leave them in the
got
field.
delved into too much,
So there
is
you
all
go.
the
So those are
different
three
alternative
internal
endings.
ending cards that you also get. Now, the big difference for the Woodland is that, as I say, there's two main differences for this expansion from other expansions. Is that, as I say, the characters come with these tokens, plus Fate. Fate plays a different way in this expansion, and it applies to the whole of the game. Now, what I will do is I'll first talk about the movement of the corner board, because that's pretty simple. It's like the other expansions. So, if you have a
I do like the
character,
destinies in the
take
Woodlands.
Ancient Oak, and you
I mean,
simply
once you
roll
obtain
the
those,
dice.
they
You
can
need
be
more
pretty
than
game changing.
enough to get into the Woodlands. So say I was sitting
And the
here
paths, kind
on
of
fields,
another
and
form
I
of
wanted
like
to
a
go into the
quest.
Woodlands. I've rolled a 5. I would simply
Basically.
move 1, 2,
And they can give you some good
5
advantages
around
while
the
you're in the
Woodland.
Woodlands. Like,
Now,
I like those ones.
here, I don't know
but
if you can see the detail, but there's
two
little
digital
arrows that
edition endings
indicate
printed, race to the crown.
how you move around.
Dancing
So
copy.
they basically go
Oh,
like this.
nice.
Moves like that.
That's
Not
awesome.
that quickly. So you can either go with the arrows or you can go against the arrows. So if you want to leave the woodland, then you would actually go against the arrows. But what you can't do is kind of chop and change. Just say you rolled a 4, you can't go 1, 2, 3, 4. You
Excuse
have to
my
complete
habit here.
in one direction. So, why do you want to go into the woodland? Well, the ultimate space is this one over here, and that is the meeting with destiny space. And as I say, the theme of the woodland is that it was an ancient woodland that disappeared or that became corrupt. And there's a queen, Mab, I think her name is, Mab, the queen of the Fae, have taken over the woodland, and they've all gone corrupt and they're all evil, but there are hidden treasures there. So obviously now this mysterious woodland has appeared again. The adventurers want to go in there and get all this hidden treasure. Now the way, as I say, that it differs is the fate tokens. Now these are from the base game, and these fate
All
tokens,
good.
each character will actually have a certain amount of fate from their characters. So, for example, this Spider Queen has 3
Gotcha.
fate. Now,
Yeah.
generally, in the base game and the other expansions, it didn't matter about the light or dark size of these tokens. But the Woodland changes that.
Yeah, totally.
There are the light side, which is the gold
It's
side,
awesome. He made
the
all
dark
these cool
side.
videos about
And
Talisman.
So, 2 things.
Haven't seen
effects.
anything
In the
too
original
recently
base game,
from him
fate
about
meant that
Talisman,
if you
but
had fate, you could
I think a
discard
while back I
fate,
saw him interviewing,
and you could
who was
then
it, Gary Chalk, the
re-roll
original
dice.
you know,
if
artist for
rolled a dice
Talisman.
for movement and you didn't like that result, you could pay
gotta
fate
react to
back
that
pool of
sometime.
fate,
Maybe I'll even
and you could then
maybe I'll even
re-roll the
react
dice.
to
You
that
can only do it
next. I don't
once,
know.
But you'd have to accept that outcome. You couldn't pay a fate to make someone else re-roll the die, but this is what they can do now. So when you originally get your fate, so let's say the Queen got 3, you then have to choose which side you want each fate counter to be up. So for example, I could have 2 light fate and 1 dark fate. And what that would mean is that if I wanted to re-roll a dice for my own character, I would pay a light fate, and that would go away to the pool. Or if I wanted to re-roll a dice on another character, then I would pay a dark fate. Now,
See,
that
for me
makes it more
personally,
interesting, because if somebody rolls a dice and they want
honestly,
the exact number,
I
you know,
can,
5 or
depending
6
on
or
what
1, whatever,
who I'm
then you
playing
can
with,
sort of
whether
get in
it's
there and be a bit
a new
nasty
player
and
that I'm
re-roll
introducing
it,
to the game,
hence
or
they may
one of my
not
buddies
get
who have played the
that
game with a
dice roll
bunch.
that they wanted.
Um,
And somebody can't
Dark Fate
pay
opponent
another
rerolls is a
fate to
huge headache
re-roll
in
an
solo play.
already
Yeah,
fate die,
yeah,
if
true.
That makes sense.
That would make sense.
The other difference with
But
the
anyway, when I
tokens
play against my
is
experienced
that
friends,
there's a thing now called
we get
light
competitive
bound,
and we're like,
dark bound,
oh, we don't mind. We'll be
unbound,
cutthroat on each other,
faceless.
beat each other
We'll
up
go
and
through
stuff.
those.
Or if we
Light
want,
bound
we'll
means
lay
if you
off.
have
We can
more
agree to
light
lay off on each
tokens
other.
on your character,
But we're okay with being
dark,
super
you are
competitive.
light bound. If,
But
for
then,
example,
you
I
know,
had
new players,
dark
well,
tokens,
usually just play the base
I would
game
be
anyway.
dark
But,
if I happen to have
you know,
4
I don't like to
fate
be too
tokens,
cutthroat with new
and they were
players.
equal,
Maybe
I would
jokingly
then
here and
be
there, I'll kind of attack them
unbound.
one
And
time
if I
just to
didn't
show
have
them how
any
it
fate
works, but then
whatsoever,
lay
I'd be
off and not,
fateless. Now,
you know,
what does that all
go
mean?
beat them up
Well,
too much.
in some of these adventure cards, and I'll just show you a few
But
here,
I have a little competitive
it
edge
can
to it.
affect how you actually interact with a card. So
But then
for
it usually
example,
comes
this
back to bite me and
monster
I become a
here
toad or
was
something, so it evens out.
The full mirror. It's a monster. It's an enemy. Obviously, there are even monsters. I can't pronounce their names. So we have the enemy here. Now, what it says here is you have to fight this monster, but if you kill it, you can. If you're dark bound, it says here, you gain 1 strength, and it will remain here on the board.
True
again,
that.
for someone else to try
Can
and
be
kill it.
fun indeed.
If you are light bound, you discard him, which means that you actually lose out because you can't take him as a trophy. So obviously being dark bound or light bound does have an effect. For example, if you're dark bound, it says you gain 1 dark fate if you beat this monster. If you are light bound, you lose a light fate. Now I don't know if it's best to be dark bound or light bound because I've not gone through every 103 of these. If you are
Yeah.
fateless, then it means you actually have
Right.
to do the
You
bottom
don't want to be the main bad
choice.
guy
In this
who's
case,
like
it's the light one, which is
in charge of that
fate.
bloodbath.
If you are unbound, sometimes it says there's no effect. So those are the main differences with fate. And as I say, with the tokens, the other tokens, with the characters, let's just go quickly through the characters. This is the Ley Walker, and he has these portals. I'll just go through this one. He has these portal tokens.
Yeah,
And what that
that's-
means is that
that
he
is
can place 1 token
good point.
on another
Still
character,
use those.
and then on his next go he can go to that space as a teleportation. He doesn't have to roll the die exactly. So what he then has to do is he then takes his portal counter back and he can reuse it. So those tokens, each of the characters have their own special tokens. I'm not going to go through all of them, but we have the Ancient Oak. He's pretty cool. And next up we have
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Totem
they are
Warrior.
cool characters. It's just I
Again,
see all that
he
text
has,
on their
all
special
kinds of
abilities and I get a little
spirits
intimidated by it.
tokens.
And I'm
We
like,
have the Spider Queen.
I don't know.
She has little spider
But hey,
tokens,
I'm making a Talisman channel.
snare character.
Might as well
And we have the
go for the
Scout, who
gusto
has the
and
hidden path.
eventually I'll play with those characters or do some kind of
really
strategy guide or review or study or I don't know, something cool like that.
Each character does have their own written special ability. It's just another way of making these characters individual. I really, really like that. It really introduces a new strategy within the game. So let's go through some of these other cards. Now we have here the path cards. Now what happens is 3 cards will be drawn and placed next to the board. So obviously I'm not placing it next to the board.
Favorite character in all of 4th edition.
Shuffled and pulled out at random. And what you do
That's
is when
tough,
anybody enters the woodland, what happens is you then get to
if I have to pick just one, I would say honestly.
And what that means is that you then have, there's 2 effects on the card.
He's in the base
One is the
game,
travel
but
effect,
I
and
like
one
the
is
dwarf
actual
to be
meeting
honest, because he's
destiny
so versatile.
So the travel
5
effect,
fate,
for example, here with this card, it says
5
at the
lives.
start of your turn,
What is he, 3 and 3 in craft or something like that? Craft and strength. So he starts off balanced, and I mean, I love the fact that he can just rush into the very center because he's got the same, like, the special abilities of the gnome follower that you find. So, honestly, if I have to pick just one, I would pick the dwarf, but I know there's kind of more OP, potentially, characters that you could pick from in all the expansions, like, I mean, you got the alchemist.
The other
you
thing
got
is when you
the bounty
you
hunter.
manage to get all the way down here, and each time you land on one
I mean,
of
I
these
do
spaces,
like the
you
Black
pick
Knight
one
quite a
of
bit
these,
as well, even though he's,
woodland adventure cards.
I mean, not
then,
super OP, but he's
be
pretty cool
resolving
because
these
he's
as
great for
normal. So
PvP,
this
just
one
kind of
is
bullying
a
people.
place, so you just be resolving the cards as normal.
But yeah,
Now,
no,
once you've gone
I guess
all
I
the
have
way
to pick the
through,
dwarf.
and you get to the end,
What about you, AZ?
so then you can back
Who's your
out at any
favorite
point.
4th
But once you get to
edition
the final
character?
space, which is the meeting with destiny, that's when you look at your card, and hopefully you've chosen wisely, and then you have to resolve the bottom half of this card. And this one says, when you reach the meeting with destiny space, take 1 object or all gold from another character and then move to the city. So obviously that's a really good one. You can take an object, so if someone's got a talisman or something really cool, you can take that, or you can obviously take all their gold. This one here says you have to fight the Queen Titania in psychic combat.
I forget exactly what the sprite can do, but I know it involves you always have 2 spells or something like that. So definitely, and then I think sprite was like pretty weak in strength, but really good in craft.
And they're kind of like little rewards. So these are the main sort
something
of
like
treasures that you will find. And here they are. And as you can see, there's a light and a dark side. So there's the dark.
But yeah, sprite would be a good choice
so that
for
reflects again in the fate.
Spell casting like none other. I
like
think,
permanent
if I'm
effects.
correct.
So even if you leave the woodland, and even if you go back in, you still have the destiny cards. So for example, this one says increase your strength value. So if you start with 4 as your strength, you will actually increase that by 1. And it says increase your fate value by 1. So again, if you started with 3 or 2 or whatever, it gets increased. So that's a really good permanent effect. This one also says when a follower is drawn, you may replenish 1 light fate. And then this one says when another character discards or ditches a follower, you may spend 1 light fate to take that follower.
Alright, we got
so there's 3
few more minutes left in this video.
Pretty powerful.
We'll move on to something else.
Come into it. And
We'll
the
probably
other
stay on a
cool thing is
little
that
while
if your
longer.
character dies, so nobody's
It's
made
going
it to
pretty
the
good.
command, and your
Fun
character
chatting with you,
unfortunately
AZ.
dies, comes to a timely end, then these permanent effect destiny cards actually carry on into the next character. So again, you don't lose them. So it is pretty worth, fighting your way through the woodland and getting to the end space. And the other thing I will just quickly say is yes, with these adventure cards, these are the same as the base ones, although they do have a little symbol of a tree. I don't know if you can see that so well, but there it is there. And each card that comes with the woodland actually does have one of those on the card, so you can actually separate them from the base game and other expansion cards if you want to, if you don't want to play with this particular one. So the adventure cards, they get all shuffled in, and it's exactly the same with the spells, these ones here. And again, they've done really nice theming to it, because a lot of the spells and a lot of the adventure cards actually have the theming of the woodland. And that, my friends, is it. Now, I know there's a lot to go through. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching this.
Very nice,
I really
Ken.
like
Very
playing with
nice.
this, and the reason why is it's like the city. It adds more to it than just going into like the dungeon and the Highland, which is good, and it gives you more board to explore, more realms to explore. But these ones actually add more flavour to it and more strategy, simply because you've got the tokens for each character that adds new special abilities, plus the way that fate is dealt. It gives you more strategy using your fate. Should I be light bound? Should I be dark bound? Should I be unbound? Should I be fateless? It gives you more strategy and more choice, and obviously in board game terms that is a brilliant advantage. So that's, my fellow imps, was the Woodland expansion for Talisman.
Awesome.
Did you enjoy going into the woods today? Yeah, well, it's actually the woodland. Yeah, I hope you did. This is a great expansion for Talisman, as I say. Really enjoyed it. Really adds a lot more depth to the game of Talisman. Check out our Facebook page. Obviously, you're watching our YouTube channel.
Second
Spread the
edition
word.
expansions.
And if you have enjoyed any of our videos, we do
Actually,
have
it's
other Talisman
funny
video
ask
reviews.
because.
Let us know. Leave some comments or indeed
Alright, thanks, Ken.
anything
Awesome
that you
video.
know.
Anyone watching, of course, well, AZ is probably the main one watching right now, but if anyone watches in the future or joins in, definitely check out the Bottled Imp and Ken Boiter. Oops, getting a call. Oh, that'll wait. Okay, so yeah, to answer your question about second edition expansions, see, recently I did get the second edition, and I got it off eBay, and it did in fact come with the Talisman Adventure expansion, or whatever they called it, that first expansion they made for the second edition, where it just added a few characters and some new adventure cards, but not a new board or anything. So I got that, which they didn't advertise on the eBay thing, and I don't think the people who sold it even knew that they had that included in it. And I, get into the box and I look at a list online of everything that's supposed to be in there, and of course I compare like the, 4th edition cards and whatnot that are the same from the second, and I'm like, oh wait, there's a few different ones in here, and a couple characters that are different. And then I look up online the complete list for the expansion plus the regular second edition base game, and I'm like, oh, alright, I pretty much have the first expansion they made for the second edition included. But yeah, basically that's all I've got. I don't have any of the they didn't do corner boards, right? Yeah, no. I don't have the Timescape. I don't have any of those, but I'd love to have those sometime, but I'm sure I'd probably have to pay a pretty penny to get all that together, but that would be really cool. But you said, wait, what did you say you had? Complete sets of second and fourth, so that would mean you have do you have all the second edition expansions then, or did you mean you have a complete base game, or anyway, let's see. All right, let's do another one. What if we check out something else here? Let's do this quick review. I've watched this before, but it's been a while. Let's see what this guy has to say.
Hello, welcome back to the Ball Games 4K YouTube channel. And this is a channel.
Oh, you have all the expansions. Wow, that is awesome, man.
And we generally talk a lot
that is awesome, AZ.
About tabletop gaming in general. And in this video, we're going to be talking about an ancient game, first released by Games Workshop back in 1982, I do believe.
Ooh,
and we're talking
nice.
about Talisman. This is the second edition.
Dragon's expansion, that is sweet. I like the 4th edition one
So
a
we'll be
lot.
talking about the second edition. Maybe
that is awesome. You got all those.
Played the 4th and the other editions. So we talk about this game, and this is a game where you'll be rolling dice, moving around the board, try to build up your character so you can take control of the crown of command and then eliminate other players in order to win the game.
I like this guy's
we'll be telling you what we do like,
board game closet
don't
or
like,
library.
and then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Talisman
it's pretty expansive
is
there.
worth
Pretty
playing.
awesome.
Donkey's years after it was released in 1982. So remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment in that section down below, and we'll see you after this. Board games.
Board games 4K.
So the first thing that you will do when you start this game is you will pick a character, or you'll be dealt a character from a random card draw. And what you'll do, you look at the character and you'll have a certain amount of strength, you have a certain amount of craft, and you'll have a certain amount of gold. And you will take those attributes and you'll put them in the relevant spaces next to the card. So some of the characters in this game, you might be the troll, which has a special ability of not needing to roll the die when you're in crags, when you're in the crag location.
I love the old art by
This
Gary
starts
Chalk.
with a strength of 8 and a craft of 1. You might be the druid, who gets a special ability of starting a game with a spell, and he can change his
Druid,
alignment.
he's always fun.
And he starts with a strength of 2.
He
and a
switches
craft
around
of
his
4.
alignment.
Or you might end up with the dwarf, in which case you don't need to roll the die when you're in the crags.
And
or
in the
chasm.
4th edition,
You may
he
evade
always
enemies
gets
in the
his
hills. You may have
full
1, 2
complement of
dice,
spells in the
cave,
woods. I
blah, blah,
love
blah.
that.
And, yeah,
And my
he starts with a
favorite,
strength
the
of 3
dwarf.
and a
Yeah,
craft of
yeah.
3. So there's loads of different
Yeah,
characters.
Gary
in this game.
Chalk,
And you
greatest
choose
of all
one,
time for
and you
sure.
put it in front of you. So the next thing you'll do on your turn, you will place your character on the outer ring of the board. And there's 3 rings to this board. There's an outer ring, there's an inner ring, and then there's a centre ring. And you'll place your character on the outer ring, and you'll roll the 2 dice, move that number of spaces, and then you'll resolve the location where you land. And more often than not, well, that will mean that you will have to
I
draw
really wanna
an
paint
adventure
my
card. And there's a
miniatures
massive
sometime.
stack of adventure cards in this game.
Might
The
watch
adventure
some
cards have got
tutorials on how
loads
to
and
do
loads of
that
different
and
encounters
such.
on them. You might just be able to get a bag of gold, in which case you'll take that number of gold pieces and you'll put it next to your player board. You might encounter Market Day, when all players may trade gold, objects, spells and followers in their possession. Or you might end up with a war horse, which will allow you to charge into combat. You add your craft to your strength, 1 round of combat only. Inside this deck there's also loads of enemies to fight, so you might have to fight the ape with a strength of 3. You might have to fight the phantom with a strength of 4, or you might have to fight the ogre with a strength of 4, and he will remain there until he's killed. So the way that combat works is you will roll a die, you'll add your strength score to the die, and then you'll roll a die for the monster and you'll add their strength score. If you have the highest strength score, you will kill the monster, and if they've got the highest strength score, then they will wound you. And when you lose, each wound will cost you a life. When you run out of lives, you will be dead. And that's basically how combat works. So you'll keep doing this, you'll keep going round and round and round. You'll build up your character, then you'll move to the centre, maybe by sort of defeating the sentinel or various other ways of doing it, and then you'll go around the middle ring. You'll try and build up your character some more until you feel that you're powerful enough to go into the centre to try and take
Yeah,
control.
I can imagine that would
What
be
Crown of Command does.
quite
It allows
a
you to
difficult
zap and
task.
kill other players,
Here.
and if you are the last
Kitty
man
cat
standing when you've
gets
killed
in the
every
way.
other player with the Crown of Command, then you are the winner. But a character must be in possession of a talisman before they enter the Valley of Fire and take control of the Crown of Command. If they don't, then they must turn back. So you'll keep doing this until all the other players are eliminated and 1 player is the last man standing, and that is basically how you play Talisman. So what do we like about Talisman? So the first thing that we really like about it is it gives us an opportunity to venture back in time to
Yeah.
a day when board games were that much simple. And sometimes you just want to forget about these complex, in your face, miniature laden games, and you just want to get out a board, roll some dice, see what happens, and just let the cards fall where they want to. And that's basically what this game is.
That's
a
exactly
roll
why
and
I
move
like Talisman, because
which
it's
a lot of
like
people frown upon these days.
like
And
he
what you
just
say,
said,
it is an outdated mechanic. But
roll the
Talisman
dice,
is
take your
an
chances,
outdated game.
see how
Sometimes
it goes.
We love the retro feel
And
of this.
watch
We
the
love
adventure
the
unfold.
retro artwork of Talisman.
That's
We love
why,
the way it's just sketches,
you know,
and there's none of this
I mean,
computer-generated graphics.
I'm gonna
It
pause
really
it for a
does
second.
evoke a sense
I got something to
of
say. Basically, I get why some people don't like Talisman, because it's roll and move, which is a really basic mechanic, and a basic mechanic that people think is flawed because you don't have as much control over your fate. You can't really strategize as much when you're rolling dice so much in the game. But for me, that is the beauty of it. It's like you move a certain way, something pops up, you have to face it, you hope for the best, you do everything you can, and then if it goes your way, you're like, yes. If it doesn't, you're like, ah, dang. But either way, you get a solid reaction out of it. You get this, rush, and that's why I like Talisman. Yeah, it's just that random chance kind of adventure unfolding that's never the same. Every time you play, something's a little different or majorly different. But I find that to be the beauty of Talisman, is just that, there definitely isn't as much strategy involved as certain games, or a lot of different games that are more complicated, but dice rolls along with decisions. Tell a new random story each time is an infinitely variable. Exactly. That's a perfect way to put it, AZ. Perfect. That's why I like it. Because, yeah, you got to enjoy the story. If you don't enjoy the story that's unfolding, then, yeah, I could see how you wouldn't enjoy Talisman if you want to be in control of it. I mean, I get the naysayers, but yeah, use your imagination. Yep. Yeah, totally. It's like, it's epic, for sure. Keep watching this guy a bit.
A time when life was that much more simple. So the second thing that we really like about Talisman is the fact that it has so many expansions. We're talking about the second edition and the third edition. Okay, so the second edition, you had the Timescape expansion, you had the Dungeon expansion, you had the City expansion, you had the Adventure expansion, you had the expansion, and the third edition had the Dungeons,
expansion.
Had that wonderful
like I mentioned
tower,
earlier,
the big miniature that sat on top of the big tower
in
the centre of the board.
Be fun.
And the miniatures in the third edition were absolutely fantastic. Okay, the second edition, it just had cardboard cutout things, but the amount of expansions that this produced is phenomenal, and you can pick and choose which ones you want to add. You don't have to add them all, so they're all modular. So that's really great, is that the game, and in its time, was supported so well. So the third thing that we really like about Talisman is a lot of people slate this game off for being so random, but that is part of the thing we like about it, is that you do not
there
know.
He goes. There he goes. That's what we're talking about.
Space, the adventure deck is so vast. There's so much stuff in there, and when you add in the adventure cards from the expansion, you don't know what you're going to get, and you could play this game 6,000 times. You could play this every day till the day you die, and the game will be completely and utterly different. So that's what we like about it. So what don't we like about Talisman?
What don't we like?
So the first thing that we don't like about Talisman is, yeah, you guessed it, it's roll and move. And
yeah,
we
like
don't
I said,
roll and move games unless there's something else in there to sort of mix things up a bit like Formula D. We like that sort of roll and move. Okay, you're rolling the die Formula D, but you've got to negotiate those curves, right? And there's nothing like that in this game. It's just roll the dice, move that number of spaces and resolve, and that is it. And that obviously is a bit of a downer because it doesn't really work in the modern age. We're not used to games of being that simple, and the combat in this is equally as frustratingly random because you build up your character. The only thing you can do is affect your strength score and your lives and whatever, but you roll a bad die roll and you are screwed, and that is it. The game is so unforgiving. It doesn't care whether or not you roll a 1.
It is unforgiving at times,
whether or not you live or die, and that
you got to roll with the punches.
One of the things that maybe why people don't like this game as much as they should do, why it's fallen along the wayside, why this is now the sort of, regarded as the monopoly of fantasy roll and move games, So the final thing that we don't like about Talisman is it takes
I grew up
so
liking Monopoly
long to play, and sometimes this game feels
found
like
Talisman and I'm like, whoa, never going back.
Quagmire.
Now I gotta have all the metal Citadel
It could take
Talisman
4
second
hours,
edition
5 hours,
miniatures
6
that were
hours
available.
to play this game. It really
I had to
is
use the cardboard
a
stands
shot in the
as a
dark
kid and wanted
when
the
you're
minis so
thinking,
bad.
we're going to get Talisman out, we're going to have a laugh, see what happens. This ain't a 1 or 2 hour game, especially with 4
got
players.
all of them.
And however many players. How many does it play?
Wow.
How many does it play?
That is
How many
epic.
does it play? Up to 6 players. I would never play this with 6 players because you'll end up dead before you even finish it. So that is one of the downers about this game. So to summarise, is Talisman still
I'd play with
worth
6
playing
players, but
today?
and I have before,
And
but just
future.
base game. But anyway,
So we're going to say
I'd be down. I'm a diehard fan.
And yes, it all depends. I wouldn't buy this new. I wouldn't buy the new version of this because it's dated beyond belief, and I don't know if it's changed that much. I think I played the black edition.
Industries.
Whoever made it, after the third edition, it came back very briefly. I played that once, and it just felt like it was just trying to sort of flog a dead horse. You're best off going back to basics, picking up the second edition or the third edition if you can find it, if you've got enough money, because that is bloody expensive. Pick up the second edition on the cheap, it's a couple of quid, whatever it is, I don't know. Bring it out if you just want to have a laugh. Don't invest too much
I like
cash
the
in this
fourth
game.
edition though.
Pick it
I mean,
up, bring it out when you want to go retro,
I like the
when you
second
want to
edition
feel
too. I
that,
played
how
it a
that
little
Games
bit.
Workshop 5 felt
But
before.
there's nothing
all
wrong
these
with the
new
fourth.
miniature games
In
and all
fact,
these
it's
rules
great.
and worker placement and all this stuff that really made games complex. And you know, before we had that Cult of the New and Fear of Missing Out, Kickstarter and all that sort of crap. Pick this up, have a look at the past, see where we came from, what games made us salivate back in the 80s. That's what this game's about. This game is about going back to where it all began, one of the first board games that we ever owned, and that is why you should play Talisman in this day and age. So remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel, leave a comment in that section down below, and we'll see you next time.
Right on, right on. Yeah, that's a pretty cool video. I like that guy. Alright. You know what? I should give him a subscribe, to be honest. Subscribe! Alright. Let's see, what else? What should we do? What should we do? How about... I don't know. Oh, this is a pretty new one, relatively, and I watched it. I like it. Commanding History, and then this one's pretty good from a year ago. But I don't know. Kind of thinking it's getting a little bit late, so I might just call it a stream here. Pretty good first stream. Appreciate you guys watching, guys, gals, whoever. I see I have 2 viewers right now. AZ, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Hopefully we can do this again soon. Keep watching my bids. I'll definitely keep in touch with you. I appreciate you. And then whoever else is watching, or whoever's watching in the future, I hope you enjoyed this video, this live stream video. The Talisman Wizard, here for your viewing pleasure. All about Talisman. Hoping to do a video every day. Do my best on that. Can't guarantee it, but something I'll squeak out every day. Alright. Thanks, AZ. Good night to you. And I will do my best to be good. Alright, so yeah, like the little ticker in the bottom right says, please like this video, leave a comment, share, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Alright. Signing